Hello, and welcome to All Directions Podcast.
Hello. That was normal.
Absolutely.
You doing alright, man?
I'm doing fine.
Everything's okay with you?
Everything's fine.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah, everything's good.
Okay. Glad to hear it. Pardon me. Right guys, well I think we're just gonna jump sort of straight into things. If you watched last week's episode by the way, this is All Direction Podcast, just in case you weren't aware, just with the dodginess of...
What do you mean the dodginess? I was enunciating.
If that's what you want to call it, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Sure. I feel like, just in case you haven't stuck around for the first episode, maybe we should actually tell people who the fuck we are, because we never do that.
I mean,
promote yourself, dude, just for a second. You literally have a second.
Fine.
If you can get your name out there, then that's
hi, I'm Voz from them.
He is Voz from Alcove.
I am Voice from the Source. You may recognize me from the brands of HP and Heinz.
I think I've seen you actually, yeah.
Yeah, I come in a variety of different flavors.
Variety of different flavors and packaging.
Exactly.
Terms and conditions do not apply.
No, I'm Voice from the Alcove. I have a channel.
Jeez, dude, just gonna plug yourself all day. Bloody hell. I'm done with one, guys. I'm not gonna push you towards my channel just yet. It's sleeping at the moment.
Mine's practically sleeping as well.
Yeah, but yours is closer to waking up again.
Closer.
Mine's more in a coma right now.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's about right.
I mean, after that last update that you did.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
It was legit at the time.
Your Dragon Ball Z stuff came out after.
Well, yeah, that's because I told people I was just gonna show people that stuff, just so there was a bit of extra stuff for them to see if they wanted to check out some of the other work we've done.
Now there's nothing for them to see, and they don't know that you're actually doing this.
They don't have a clue. No one has a clue. I don't even have a clue. But yeah, so yeah, I think it just got to a point where I'd made promises and they were starting to become empty promises because I'd sort of be like, well, the video's up there now, and I kind of don't agree with everything I said at the time, like the stuff I was going to bring back, and I was like, I don't want to bring that back. So yeah, that's basically that. But yeah, guys, if you actually saw the last week's episode podcast, episode 4, we basically mentioned...
Hold on a minute, hold on. You kept up with the numbers this time.
I did.
So we're not on 64 or something.
We were never on 64.
Okay.
Never been on 64 at all.
Okay.
But can you remember what number we are up to in terms of the other number?
Audio tests?
Audio tests. Specifically podcast based.
You said 21.
I believe I said 22 last time.
You said 20. I believe you said 21 last time, because you said 17 the time before that. I believe I corrected you and said it was 8. So we haven't actually done an audio test today. The only audio test, which means we should be on audio. Well, actually, this isn't tests, but up to audio tests. I reckon 10.
22.
20. Fuck off!
Well, yeah, it was 22 last week, it's 22 this week.
What do you mean it's 22 last week?
We haven't done any more audio tests since, so it is still 22.
Yes, we have, for the Star Wars game.
What?
For the Star Wars game. For the Star Wars game.
What Star Wars?
The Star Wars game that's coming up eventually.
Eventually, one day, maybe. I don't know.
Not that one, the other one.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
That other one that's maybe, but
longer.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Never? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what he's talking about.
You should know.
I haven't got a clue.
It was really frustrating the last time we did.
Not a clue.
This guy. Since it's not coming up for a while, I'll not mention it yet.
Apparently this guy that Chris has met one time, he talks about something really strange.
What do you mean I talk about something really strange?
Get some hearing aids, dude. We're all sat here being like, we know you're talking about somebody, and you think you're talking about yourself, unless you're trying to tell me something now.
Right. What?
Anyway, guys, if you watched last week's episode, we basically mentioned, or almost started a brief discussion of what we're actually going to talk about today. As I said, we bring it up this week's show. So yeah, the basic idea was we're going to have a bit of a discussion about whether or not we think the whole era of superhero films is on its way out and about to die. So since you basically mentioned it last week, and you think that it is on its way out, let's hear your thoughts and your reasons why you think that.
Well, it's typical of Hollywood to create a trend that lasts for a time, and then eventually people get tired of it because either they repeat the same ideas, reboot too many of them, or they just don't want to do it anymore, and directors don't want to direct that stuff anymore. So I believe I can't remember what was the last Hollywood fad that we had.
Prior to the superheroes.
Yeah, because I want to say action, but I'm not too sure.
No. Action's just a pure and simple is just a genre, and that's neither here nor there. Things are coming and going. The last fad that was around was vampires.
Vampires, right, and that lasted about what, a couple of years.
I think it started when Twilight started, and probably ended when, I'm not saying vampires haven't always been a big thing in film, but I mean the fad of vampires, or quote vampires, and pretty much ended when Twilight ended.
No, it didn't. Well, didn't it end with what was it called? I was going to say Helsing, but that's an anime. No, not Helsing. Dracula Untold.
No, the vampire phase had been long gone by the time.
Right.
That was it trying. Dracula Untold was trying to jump on a whole different fad altogether, which we'll be discussing today as part of one of my arguments. But Dracula Untold tried to jump on the whole universe idea, the whole cinematic universe.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure the Twilight thing went out because the only reason it was big in the first place is because, you know, a lot of like pre-teenage girls and stuff were into the idea of sexy vampires.
Who are also assholes.
So once the whole Twilight thing was done, the whole vampire thing was worn out. I think it was starting to get worn out anyway by the time Twilight was coming towards an end. So, you know, probably did its run about the right time.
That kind of stuff. Like that's 2.5 years.
Well, Twilight went on for a bit more than 2.5 years. There's like 4 or 5 films, so that would span at least about
under a decade, right?
It'd be under a decade. It wasn't 10 years, but it'd be, I'd estimate about 7-ish years or something. Yeah. That's when I'd take my guess from the previous fad thing. So yeah, previous fad.
So and superhero movies started with, it started getting really popular again when Spider-Man came out. If I remember correctly.
Not really.
Because as far as I remember, Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, did I get that correct? I remember the name. When those Spider-Man movies came out, the hero genre just went up.
Well, no, I disagree. There are several.
Oh wait, X-Men. I forgot that.
There are several points in time you can make an argument for when the real superhero craze with films started. Because it wasn't you can't argue like back with the original Superman and Batman. They were just superhero movies being made at the time. They weren't even being taken that seriously.
Yeah.
But it was just because they got some big names in there to play some roles. That's what legitified.
You mean the one with Christopher Reeve?
Like Christopher Reeve Superman, Michael Keaton's Batman.
I think they took the first Superman seriously, but then
the director took it seriously because he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But like the studio didn't really care all that much about how well the film actually did. It was the fact that they got the bloody Godfather in to play Superman's Kryptonian dad. That legitified the movie. And same with, I wouldn't say it's not the same with Michael Keaton, because people really didn't want Michael Keaton playing Batman, because previous to that they'd only really seen him in Beetlejuice and like really gonna have him play the Batman. But it was Jack Nicholson that legitified the Batman movie. But that didn't really start the whole superhero craze, especially considering Batman killed the superhero craze with Batman Forever, but most importantly Batman and Robin was the one that really killed it. Because I don't like Batman Forever. I've never particularly loved it. I can put up with it a lot more than I can Batman.
Was that Mr. Freeze?
No, Batman and Robin's Mr. Freeze.
Right. No, it's
Poison Ivy. Batman Forever is Two-Face and Riddler.
Yeah.
So I'm put up with that.
It was more like the Joker rather than Riddler.
It's more Two-Face that was very Joker-esque. A lot more than he should have been at least. But so the George Clooney stuff, that one basically killed the whole thing. It was like, superhero movies are done. Then you have Bryan Singer comes out and he pushes out the first X-Men film, and people are, well, I don't know if I'd go as far to say gobsmacked with it, but they're pretty amazed by it. And a few years later, if I'm getting my dates right, he comes out with X2, which blows everyone's socks off. Some people still consider it today to be one of their favourite like comic book films of all time. So X-Men is one point in time in which you could consider the sort of start of the craze, but personally I wouldn't. I don't count Spider-Man just because that came out round about. That started, I think, by jumping on like X-Men's success and everything. I don't think you would have necessarily gotten Spider-Man off the ground if it hadn't been for X-Men doing what it had done first.
Right.
Obviously, Spider-Man pushed it up again because the first film did. Like everyone loved the first film. Everyone then really loved the second film.
And the third film was shit.
Yeah, just like X-Men's.
Although Sandman was good.
Well, like I said, personally I like Spider-Man 3 more than most people do. It's mostly Venom that irritates me in that film, but I like the black suit. I can put up with the dance scene from Spider-Man 3.
I don't mind it.
It doesn't annoy me.
I don't mind the goofy emo Tobey Maguire.
I actually like Tobey Maguire during the emo phase of that film. And to be honest, I never really picked up on the whole dancing thing. Like, I knew it was there, but I never really picked up on it. Like, there's been this huge thing that was horrible in the film. Granted, I was a child when I first saw it.
Wait, which dancing moment do we mean? The one when he's outside the store, or the other one?
Into the store and then walks back out of the store.
Right. Because I was thinking, for a second there, I was thinking, does he mean that one, or does he mean the one with Gwen Stacy in it? The little like musically high school musical thing.
There's the thing that he does with like he kind of tries to like force. I think I'm sure it's Mary Jane. He tries to force her to dance with him or something. Or
no. Gwen Stacy. He was going on a date with Gwen. He went to the same. I think it was a coffee shop where Mary Jane at the time was performing as a singer. And he danced with Gwen and kissed her at the end to have some payback against MJ for one reason or another.
Right. Well, either way, like I said, I wouldn't consider that to really be the starting point. But I think then what you've got to add into that, during the point in time in which you've got the Spider-Man films going on, you've then got Christopher Nolan stepping into the plate in 2005 with Batman Begins. Now that doesn't really kick it off, but it sort of legitifies Batman again as a character. About like maybe 3 years later or something, this is when the real debatable point starts, because now, 3 years later, you have The Dark Knight come out. The Dark Knight is a giant success. Everybody's talking about that film. It's huge. And then it's either like the same year or just the year after. I'm sure it's the same year though. Iron Man comes out in the same year. And I'm sure it's not even that, the two weren't even that far apart from one another. And so you're then going, well, Dark Knight was amazing, I'll check out another superhero film. You're like, it's not going to be as good as The Dark Knight. But then you go in and check Iron Man out, thinking it's going to be an averagey, alright, typical superhero movie. And then Iron Man kicks ass. So that's kind of the real starting point of the superhero craze. I think the point where it really blew up though was in 2012 when the first Avengers came out. That was when Marvel had done that several films, and then it all came together. There was a giant amount of hype around this movie, and it did very well. It actually didn't disappoint most people, and everyone really came out very happy with this film. So at that point onwards, everyone sort of wanted to jump on the whole let's do a comic book movie. There's two things that everyone's wanted to do with it. Let's do a comic book movie, and let's try out this whole cinematic universe idea, because it worked for them. It might work for us. So, but yeah, anyway, so you may continue.
Yeah, so my argument for superhero movies eventually falling out of favour would just be basically because of how many movies we've had thus far, especially with a lot of the sequels not living up to the first movies. Best example being Iron Man. Even though I like Iron Man 2, and Iron Man 3, I'm more interested in Tony Stark rather than the actual thing that I go to see Iron Man for, which is Iron Man. I think for that movie they could have just done Tony Stark as the headlining title, because there's, as far as I remember, there's actually quite a lot less Iron Man in comparison to 1 and 2.
Yeah, you still call it Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's the title character,
So the reason why I say I have a feeling that superhero movies are going to fall out of favour is because of mainly because the sequels are not living up to the first movie, and I can't actually say that about many of them. I've only ever really I'm going to have to catch up on my movies here eventually, but especially with Iron Man, I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I've heard some bad things about it. What else? I've seen all the Batman movies, of course. Although I think, oddly enough, Batman 2 is certainly better than Batman 1. Or rather, The Dark Knight is better than Batman Begins. No?
I do not agree with that.
Really?
Not one bit. I think Joker is amazing in The Dark Knight movie. But I think if you want a Batman movie, Batman Begins is the film you watch.
Right.
The Dark Knight is not a Batman movie, it's a Joker film. It's purely it's centered around the Joker. Batman's just in it. I think with a lot of people, I don't agree with people is this being an argument. Sometimes people will try and argue Dark Knight's not actually that good a film, and the argument to that is, if Joker wasn't in that movie, the film would be average at best. And I'm like, but that's not an argument, because Joker is in that movie. You can't say if this thing that makes a movie great wasn't in the movie would be shit. Well, yeah, of course it was. But then, so would anything from any good movie. Would Jurassic Park still be a good film if we removed every single dinosaur from that film?
Well, then it'd just be Park, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Would Jaws be anything without the shark?
Fishing.
So yeah,
fishing.
It's not.
Well, actually, fishing and marine research.
So you can't really use that argument of if you remove this big plot element of a film, then the film will be shit. Well, of course it will be shit, because that's half of the movie. But I do agree with the fact that if you remove Joker, it wouldn't be nearly as good a film. The Joker is what makes that movie. It's still a fantastic movie. You can't argue it wouldn't be without him. Or you can't argue it's not a good movie because that he's the only reason it's good.
Right.
But I will say, because I think he is the main element of that film that makes that film good, for me, Batman Begins is so focused on Batman. It's about Bruce Wayne becoming Batman, about him taking that journey to learn pretty much all of his skills, but to learn about himself in what's essentially best for his city. I think the villains are still fantastic in that movie. I enjoy Batman Begins every time I watched it, and funnily enough, Batman Begins was the film that made me not like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. And I've told you this before.
The Batman voice.
It wasn't, no. I didn't mind his Batman voice. I had friends that told me Batman Begins is an amazing film, and then one day it just happened to be on the telly, and I think I caught it like it must have been halfway through the film or something, because the one that played Rachel in the film, she was already at the asylum at the time, and I was watching the film. Me being used to the Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Batman stuff. Me watching this, being like, this isn't a Batman film. Why the hell is it called Batman Begins? Everyone's saying this is great. I was bored off my arse. But to be fair, I only give it about 5 minutes, and then I turn it over. So when I got dragged to go see The Dark Knight in the cinemas, which I didn't want to see because I was like, I don't like Batman Begins, so I'm not going to enjoy this film. I watched Dark Knight, blew my mind. I fucking loved it, and I was like, I'm going to give Batman Begins a chance. Watched it, loved it, thought it was fucking amazing, couldn't wait for Dark Knight Rises to come out. But I was so in love with The Dark Knight, I watched it every single day. I watched it again, just constantly. It wasn't the case where as soon as it finished I started up again, but every day I watched the film. And I got very fatigued of the movie. And I haven't watched The Dark Knight all the way through for like maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years now. I'm still fatigued of that film, just because I watched it that much. I can watch Batman Begins any day of the week, and I don't think I'll ever get. Maybe if I'd watched it to the consistent level I did of The Dark Knight, I might, but I feel like I wouldn't get as fatigued of that film. But for me, just in terms of, yes, Dark Knight has the better villain, but in terms of overall, all-round stuff, Batman Begins has great villains in it. I love the phase of Batman when he's dealing with like crime bosses, just like the Falcone crime family and all that stuff. I love that sort of stage of Batman's career, so I'm interested in that side of it. But in terms of how much it develops Batman, in terms of how much it develops the side characters around Batman, in terms of how much it develops the villains, I think Batman Begins is the better film.
Okay.
And the more enjoyable film for me, but ultimately Dark Knight has the best villain, possibly the best villain of like all comic book movies ever. So, yeah.
Alright, next point?
Well, I just, I'm trying to remember where you were actually going before you asked me, and I went off on a bit of a spiel, but basically you thought that...
Alright, going off on fads and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, they've had, it's been over 10 years already of having superhero themed movies, and I'll have to segue into another point, but it's still connected, which would be movie fatigue, which is a thing I can argue about a point we're actually starting to get to with superhero movies, because with all the superhero movies coming out, it's constantly it's Batman, and now it's Superman. Oh, what's this now? There's Batman versus Superman, which was technically a reboot, especially for Batman. Let's see, and then there's Suicide Squad, and you've got Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got Iron Man, blah 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 blah, which have all pretty much came out year after year. And people's attention spans will only last so long, especially for the general public, I'd say.
Right.
So, actually, I could segue another point into that as well, but I will give you a chance to rebuttal.
Okay. Well, here's where I basically disagree, and I have quite a few points on this, so I'm going to try and collectively try and keep them all together in my head and not lose track of where I'm going with this. But I think the first point, to jump off of your whole like the fatigue thing, where I think the brick wall that lies there is that will not happen provided the movies are good. If there is good film after good film after good film, people will not get tired of them. And I'll tell you now, the only way that people are going to get fatigued of the superhero genre in general to a point where it's... I don't think superhero movies are ever going to be dead in the water to a point where they're not being made ever again.
Oh no, I don't believe that.
They will forever and always be continuing to be made. But if the fatigue was to occur, you might not be getting them year after year. It might be every 2 or 3 years that you get one superhero movie, or 2 at best. But I think in order for that to happen, you would have to, or at least for that to start to happen, you would have to get 4 bad superhero films in succession after one another. And that hasn't happened yet. This year, above any, was the year to test that. Because this year we've had more superhero films than any year prior. But I think, especially with a studio like Marvel, and I will say it now, this is going to be one of the few times you hear me praising Marvel to the extent I do. I love the Marvel films, I really do, but I have my problems with them. But today I'm going to be praising them for the success that they've had and acknowledging where they've went right and everything. They've got 2 cheats behind their back to help them avoid this ever happening. Now they are relying on all the other studios that are making superhero films just as much as they're relying on themselves. Because if Fox puts out stuff that's shit, if DC puts out stuff that are shit, that's going to fatigue people, that hurts Marvel. So Marvel wants everyone to be good, Fox wants everyone to be good, DC wants everyone to be good. Because that's how they're going to keep making money for these films. Marvel's 2 cheats that they've got though. Essentially Marvel have not necessarily founded, but started 2 things that are going to help keep their films going forever. I think, who was it? Steven Spielberg, about 2 or 3 years ago, made a comment about why he thinks superhero films are going to die out. He says that they're going to go the way of Western movies. Basically, Western movies used to be unbelievably popular. You got them all of the time, every week or something. There was a new Western film to watch. And then suddenly they vanished. Everyone got sick and tired of them and they went away. And now you really don't get Western movies anymore. They're dead. But the problem with that is Western films are specifically a genre in themselves, right? It's the same plot over and over again. It's essentially a repeated film again and again, just with different characters. That's the only real difference, but it's always that sort of same story in a Western movie. Now, where Marvel doesn't have to worry about this, and where a lot of the superhero films don't have to worry about this, is they have started subgenres. So the superhero film, like especially with Marvel stuff, they're not even really superhero films. The reason we call them superhero films is just because these films happen to have superheroes in the movie. But in essence, what they're actually doing, and you'll have heard this off of thousands of different shows that talk about this topic, is, you have Marvel putting out like political thriller movies. You have them, and they've never went into the line of horror, but they might one day. They've got heist movies, they have their action films, they've got comedy, they've got space opera, they've got sci-fi, fantasy type films. And their films are so much more focused on that genre than they are focused on the superhero element. If you look at something like Captain America, Winter Soldier, a sequel that did top its first movie, as in rebuttal to your earlier comment, that film is basically like a political thriller film that just so happens to have Captain America in it. That's the only reason it's a superhero movie, but it doesn't feel like your standard superhero film. I'm not going to list them all off, but you've got your Ant-Man, which is the heist film, you've got your Guardians, space opera, all that stuff. And as long as they continue to do that, you're going to be getting different material all the time. Marvel has consistently managed to provide, giving you different genres of films that can suit the taste of a lot of different people, while at the same time managing to remain consistent in the tone of that universe, so that one film doesn't feel like it's unbelievably far-fetched to exist in the same universe. Especially like considering, if you look at, say, what films we're getting from them today, and you compare it to what we had with the very first Iron Man movie, if they were to, if I don't know, say Thor Ragnarok, which is meant to be really wacky and weird, or just Guardians of the Galaxy, probably be a better example, a very wacky, weird film. If that was the film that followed the first Iron Man movie, it would be a bit of a stretch, right? But they've led you up that, they've sort of guided you through that tone to get you to the point where you can accept something like Guardians happening. And I think because Marvel have consistently managed to do that, and they're going to continue to follow the whole idea of different genre for different hero, whatever suits that hero best is the genre we'll pick for that hero. I think that's the reason Marvel is going to successfully be able to continue. The other reason I believe Marvel has a cheat is because they essentially created, and there are films that have done crossovers before in the past, but a crossover type film and actually establishing a cinematic universe are two very different things. Marvel essentially created the cinematic universe, which right now is the thing every single studio wants to do. Every studio wants to do it.
They didn't create the cinematic universe.
Oh, they did.
They didn't. Universal did.
Right.
With the monster movies.
Except Universal are struggling to do that.
Oh, they're struggling to do it again. But originally with the black and white, like the Mummy, the Werewolf, what was the other classic one? Mummy, Werewolf, Frankenstein. They've already done crossovers and Universal stuff.
Yeah, but they didn't have like a continually film by film flowing narrative between one another and constant connections between each of them.
I believe they did at one point.
I mean, to establish that you're in the same universe and to have a technically flowing narrative between all films, different things. A cinematic universe will be the thing that has the technical flowing story throughout all films that exist. Whereas, just saying that or establishing, we're in the same world, there might be a crossover every now and then. That's just more crossover than it is. I'm not saying it's not technically a cinematic universe, but not to the same degree that Marvel have established. So I think Marvel have really created the actual legit thing. Universal are trying to jump back on that, but so is every other freaking studio now is trying to come up with any possible way they can have a cinematic universe. If every studio at this moment in time is trying to jump on what a superhero franchise has done, that tells you right now that the superhero franchise is still going fully strong right now. So, again, trying to keep everything collected. So I think my main 2 points, at least right now, being that because of the success of the cinematic universe itself, and because of the idea of subgenring all of their films to a point where they're not actually superhero movies, they're just different films that have superhero movies in them, at least on Marvel's end, they're going to keep going strong for quite some time now, unless they consistently put out 4 atrociously bad films.
Alright. I think I've got a couple more, and I'll try to bang them out as quick as I can. One of my other arguments for superhero movies, I think we've established that they're not going to end.
No, they're not going to end.
But let me repurpose my original statement and saying superheroes stagnating in terms of being made would be the amount of money it will eventually cost to create one superhero movie, especially if we're talking about a studio like Marvel, because we've established last podcast that if a movie is successful, they will get a bigger budget next time, etc., etc., etc. So another potential downfall of the superhero genre, whether it be from one studio or another, could be the combination of how much it costs to make it and how much ticket prices will go up to get that revenue back.
I have a rebuttal to that. I don't think money is ever going to be a problem. I think you have a higher worry of the whole art of cinema dying before you have the worry of superhero movies being the cause of it. Hollywood blockbuster films are never going anywhere. They've been around for a long time now.
Oh, I'm not saying in the whole terms of Hollywood.
Right, but as long as Hollywood blockbuster films exist, the superhero franchise is not going anywhere. Superhero franchises get the same treatment that any other Hollywood blockbuster style film does. If it makes a shitload of money, it gets a big budget. Now, it doesn't always necessitate if your film's successful, your next film will get a bigger budget. If you have a big budget to begin with and that film's super successful, then the studio might give you the exact same budget for the next following film. Now, if your first film has a very small budget, the sequel might get a bigger budget. But if your first film in the superhero or any of your films has a $250 million budget, it's extremely successful, crosses the $1 billion mark. It doesn't mean the sequel to that is going to get a $300 million. It might get a $250 million again, because essentially the studio is thinking, okay, realistically, how much are these films worth really, and how much are we going to be able to make off these films? If we're roughly going to make the same or a tiny bit more for the sequel, then there's no point in us giving them a bigger budget, because then we'll not make as much money back. So the studio would love to, well, I don't think they'd love to give them a smaller budget. They want to put as much money in so they can get as much money back to a relative degree. But I think because it has the exact same attitude towards, basically the way you've got to look at it is they're just blockbuster movies, right? So if big Hollywood blockbuster action films aren't going anywhere due to money, superhero films are never going anywhere just purely due to money. You know, we talked about like cast and everything, but actors' contracts run out, and eventually those expensive actors will leave and cheaper actors will come on board, and it might get hard again to like bring people in. But if you've established a name for yourself, like what Marvel has, when bloody Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, all the Chris's, when they all walk out and they're done with their film franchise and their characters are finished, Marvel might have a tiny drop in how much money they make, but they're not going to struggle because they've established their name now. Other franchises that don't have a giant ass name behind it already, but you know, I mean, basically any other long running franchise will manage without for a little while by losing some of its casting, which will ultimately make, especially for someone like Marvel, it'll make that budget much cheaper if they lost someone like Robert Downey Jr. or if they were done with Robert Downey Jr. So I don't think money's ever going to be the problem there.
Alright. Well, one of my other points was going to be the price of keeping an actor on. But now I've got to try to think of at least a closing statement or something. I'll stick with my re-rendition of the original argument in that superhero movies won't go away for good, but I still reckon at the very least they are gonna slow down in production, because I mean fair enough, we're getting stuff that we enjoy and whatnot, but it's going to come to a time, I reckon, either where we can't afford the ticket for one movie for a particular amount of time, or we've just lost interest in a particular movie or movie franchise that either breaks or sets a lower budget for future superhero movies.
Well, I think I will close my argument by referring to your original statement, which was that whether or not the superhero franchise was going to end anytime soon, to which I think it will not. I'm not saying it's never going to end, but anytime soon. And I'll refer back to my points in which I made that you'd have to get at least 4 bad films in succession. And so my point to that is that has not happened yet. And at this very moment in time, the reason it is not going to happen anytime soon the current movie that is not only considered to be the best comic book movie of the year, but at least right now, the best film of the year is a superhero film, that being Logan. Logan, which is debatably, people are arguing, might even be up for getting at least a nomination when it comes to the Oscars. So if we're in a time period where a comic book film is being considered, at least until the Oscar films start coming out, is being considered as the best film of the year, we are not in an age that's close to the end of this franchise. That's just my thoughts on it.
Fair enough.
Speaking of Logan, that is a property owned by 20th Century Fox.
It is.
It is.
It is.
And I don't know if you've all heard.
Although originally when I was younger, I used to think it was Universal that owned them. But no, Universal's only got their hands on
Hulk.
Hulk, yeah.
And that's only distribution rights as well.
Is it? Did they not make the... No, I wasn't going to say Incredible Hulk, the one beforehand.
Well, I
the
think
Hulk.
I'm not entirely sure of the entire process, but what I am aware of is that Universal has the distribution rights of the film. So, for example, the Incredible Hulk was made by Marvel Studios, but Universal distributed the movie.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what the case was with just the Hulk, but I imagine it might have been something similar along the line. So I believe, in terms of character rights, Marvel either shares the character rights with Universal, or Marvel just has the character rights.
Right.
But Universal has the distributional rights, which is the big reason why Marvel cannot make a Hulk movie, because
or solo Hulk movie.
Yeah, but they can't call it Hulk.
Yeah.
Because Universal has that rights.
What if they just call it?
Universal can't make a Hulk movie.
What if they just call it Banner?
I don't think they'd get away with that. Plus, people probably wouldn't go see it. It would have to be called the Hulk.
Well, if it's an origin story of Bruce getting...
But it's not one. It's not going to be an origin story.
Yeah.
I mean, Hulk's well established in the universe by now.
I mean, they could always change it up. Use a different Hulk.
No, I think people like the Hulk they've got. Plus, they've got a story going on with him at the moment.
I know a solo Hulk movie I would like to see. The one where General Ross becomes the Red Hulk.
And I think you're probably going to have to wait for that.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I think the way it works with Hulk is basically Universal can't make a Hulk movie because they don't have the character right to the character, but they have essentially the title rights and the distributional rights. Marvel can make a Hulk movie, but they'd have to distribute it through Universal because they've got the rights to that. So basically, because Marvel, which is owned by Disney now, doesn't want to do that, or at least Disney doesn't want to, have their own film being distributed through another studio. Basically, they're not making Hulk movies. They're very cleverly having Hulk have his story run through several other characters' movies. So I think his first chapter, or at least his first act, is from Avengers 2. His second act's meant to be from Thor Ragnarok, and I think his third act is most likely going to happen in Avengers 3. So we'll find out what that.
I've just realised I've not seen Avengers 2. Oh wait, sorry, I have, because I had Vision in it.
Yes.
I've seen it briefly.
Right, well, then you've seen some of it.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, so that's meant to be like his first act of his narrative that he's got going on at the moment. But yeah, Fox, on the other hand, which have a lot of character rights as well as distributional rights. So supposedly, we don't know how factual this is. It's just been going around the rumour mill recently.
I think it's. I think the rumours originated from. I want to say something along the lines of the stock market. Or
well, no, because I think they're just in talks right now. They're nothing has actually happened yet.
No, I think they were in talks.
Yeah. I think talks have actually paused right now. They're currently in talks at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sort of on and off right now with discussion on stuff. But it kind of makes me think it's a case of one of the reasons they're most likely doing it is because Disney wants to start their own streaming service, like a Netflix kind of thing, and Fox have a lot of good films, and so Disney might want to buy the rights from those films, and that basically means they can then put it up on their own streaming service, which will fill out content, make them actual legitimate competitors against people like Netflix and everything. But one of the other things that's in discussion right now is Disney looking into purchasing stuff like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men properties
I believe
for Marvel.
I believe the rumor was actually that Disney was just going to straight up buy Fox.
That has been that was a rumor a very long time ago, several months back. But I think the current thing going on right now is they're not actually buying Fox because they don't want everything Fox has. Like I've heard stuff like they want Fox to keep stuff like Fox News and everything. Disney's not interested in anything
Fox
like
News.
that.
But Disney could own the rights to Fox Kids.
And
Fox Kids was
got their
amazing.
own kids channel. I don't think they need that.
No, but they could have all the cartoons that were on Fox Kids that were produced by Fox
They've got their
Kids.
own cartoons. They've got freaking Star Wars.
Well, it gives them even more property.
Yeah, I think they've got enough stuff as it is, to be honest with you. But yeah, so I think the main topic of our discussion right now is, are they looking into banning Fox's superhero stuff, like their X-Men properties and their Fantastic Four properties?
Yeah.
So from a literally about 5-second discussion we had before we started the podcast this morning, you sounded rather happy with the idea of it.
I am.
Why?
Because then apart from Fantastic Four, I believe, because I think Fan 4 is owned by Sony.
Fox.
Fox? No, who's the one that's owned by Sony?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, that's it. Apart from Spider-Man, they would literally have the entirety of the Marvel movieverse characters.
Just by the way, guys, just to let you know, just because Christopher isn't 100% updated with films and stuff, technically he's right. I mean, technically he's correct in saying that they don't have Spider-Man. Sony does own Spider-Man, but they are working together at the moment, so Marvel and Disney are allowed to use Spider-Man, so technically it's arguable about the Spider-Man comment. Just so you don't get a lot of backlash about that.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot where I was.
But they have basically everything except Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Except for and they will then have X-Men and Fantastic Four and stuff.
Yeah. So they could implement them into their movieverse.
Right.
If and when needed, and or just totally do a reboot, which X-Men's probably going to have to do regardless anyway, with Hugh Jackman leaving as Wolverine. And I don't think they're actually... Are they planning on making any more X-Men movies that are still in the order of the originals?
In terms of the ones that are set before the original films, yes, they are making more X-Men films.
No, not before. I mean, sequentially afterwards. So after X-Men 1, 2, 3.
Actually, yes, they are.
Right.
Yes.
So continuing with that first. Okay, so what was I saying? So Disney would have those properties again. Well, Marvel would have those properties again under Disney, and they could do whatever the hell they want. They won't have to go through another studio to come up with some kind of deal. They could just do whenever. I've already said whenever.
Okay. Personally, I think it would be horrible if it happened. I think it would be absolutely horrible. It would be probably the worst thing that could happen. With an exception, I actually would very much like Marvel to get their hands on Fantastic Four. One, for the villains, and two, to give Fantastic Four an actual legitimate shot at having a good film, because Fox have failed far too many times.
Although we have said the last one that they made, even though it was probably to keep the rights to the characters and stuff, wasn't all that bad.
The third act is where it falls apart.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as everyone said it was. It's just your sort of typical standard run-of-the-mill superhero ending, to be honest with you. And the slight cheesiness at the end where he's Thing says about the new space that they've got. He's like, this is fantastic. He's like, wait, what did you say?
Yeah.
I said this was fantastic.
Although that's something along the lines that we would do.
So that section probably should have cut that bit out. But it was a standard average superhero ending. But the first two acts of that film implied to me I was about to watch an amazing Fantastic Four movie, especially the first act above any. I still think the first and second act are brilliant.
Yeah. Isn't do you get a Stranger Things kind of vibe just from like the lighting and whatnot?
From the lighting, maybe, yeah, but that'd probably be as far as it went, to be honest with you. But honestly, the reason I would like to see Marvel give that hand a shot at Fantastic Four. One, it means they get to play around the villains. They need a villain once they're done with Thanos, with Avengers 3 and 4.
Yeah,
and someone like Galactus would be the next sort of step to go. So that would be great for them. But I would like everyone on the X-Men side to stay with Fox, because yes, they don't always provide us with great X-Men films, but when they give us good X-Men films, they're great X-Men films. They're not just good X-Men films, they're fucking great X-Men films.
That does include X-Men Origins Wolverine.
But X-Men Origins Wolverine is not a good X-Men movie, it is a shit X-Men movie. It is the only really good part about that film, I guess, is the opening act section where it's sort of going through time, which they've already contradicted in about 50 of their other films. But nonetheless, I would like Marvel to keep their hands off the whole X-Men stuff. You know, Marvel had that chance to have their own version of the X-Men, and they threw that away by allowing the TV side to play with the Inhumans, which meant that Marvel then had to cancel the whole idea of doing an Inhumans movie, and now you've got a really shitty Inhumans TV show coming out. But basically, you're just going to lose too much, I think, if Marvel get their hands on X-Men. For starters, next year, when we have, once again, several of these comic book movies coming out, for starters, you have Marvel putting out their Black Panther film. Most importantly, you've got them putting out their Avengers film, and they've got another film coming out after that, which I don't remember which one it is. It's Ant-Man or something like that. At the same time, you've got Fox putting out their New Mutants movie, and possibly another New Mutants.
Oh, are they calling it New Mutants?
That's its actual name. It's from a comic book and shit, which is basically going to be a horror film, as well as several other. Well, maybe not several other films. Actually, no, they do. You've got Deadpool, I think, coming out next year as well. Marvel will not make a Deadpool movie. Why? Because it's Disney, and Disney are family oriented. And they've already said they're never going to put out an R-rated film. So you will never get Deadpool.
Right.
You will never get a film like Logan if Marvel gets their hands on it. On top of that, the films I've just listed off, if Marvel had their hands on it, you wouldn't be getting Deadpool next year. Let's say even in the world where they did do a Deadpool movie, you wouldn't get it next year, and you wouldn't get New Mutants next year either. You would be waiting 3 or 4 years before you got a Deadpool movie or a New Mutants film or whatever, or an X-Men film, because they have to then wait for Black Panther to come out, you've got to wait for Avengers to happen, you've got to wait for whatever film we've got next, then whatever the next 3 films are that they're putting out, then if they've got time to fit an X-Men film in there and a Deadpool film in there, which won't come out in the same year, then maybe you get that, but then you're talking another 3 or 4 years before you're going to get another one of them. Right now, 2 separate studios, so you can have all these films come out at the same time. Marvel's not going to pump out 5 films in 1 year, at least not anytime soon. Maybe in another 5 or 10 years they might up again. But basically you're then you're decreasing the amount of content you're going to get in the space of a year, and you're also narrowing the perspective of what it is that you're going to see. Back when I said, I was saying I'm going to be praising Marvel a lot. Well, my criticism of Marvel is that in terms of their tone, I think they're getting a little stagnant myself. I think Marvel pushes a bit too much on the humour for me. Just a lot of times where I think there's a scene that's working very well, and then they'll force a joke in there that really just doesn't work, or could have been saved for another point in time, or they could have just cut out altogether because it wasn't necessary, and it ruins the scene. And I'm always like, Marvel, would you go back to just doing, at least just give us one serious film along the lines of what Winter Soldier was. Winter Soldier has its humorous moments in it. They're few and far between, but they're there. But I can take that film seriously. It's not like Guardians, which is just joke after joke after joke.
Well, that was the whole premise of Guardians.
That was the point of Guardians, right? But then after Guardians happens, every Marvel film that followed tried to do the same thing. Literally every one. I've picked up on that specifically. Like Phase 1, great selection of movies. That Phase 2 movies are, with one or two exceptions, which I guess is the same for Phase 1, great selection of films. Phase 3, or at least any film that follows Guardians of the Galaxy, is just this film that is much more difficult to take seriously at the end of the day, because it's constantly got every 10 minutes is trying to force this stupid joke in the movie that doesn't need to be there for the scene. And so I know for a fact you're never in your wildest dreams going to get a film anything along the lines of Logan, if it was with Marvel Studios. So you're essentially chopping off the range and perspective of what you could have if you're narrowing it down to just one studio, but you're also decreasing the amount of content that you'd actually be allowed to have. So that's personally why I don't think I'd be going. I would love them to try their hand at Fantastic Four, but I would like at least one studio to hold on to, a separate studio to hold on to the X-Men properties. So that way, if you want, you can have them either come out at the same time and compete with each other, or you can have them come out 1 month apart from one another. One of the best times of the year was it was like 2 or 3 years ago, when at the same time, I know a lot of people don't like this film. I don't dislike it, to be honest with you. I actually like it quite a bit. But at the same time, you had The Amazing Spider-Man 2 come out. Captain America Winter Soldier was out at the same time in the cinema, and then like a month later, while the other two were still in cinemas, Days of Future Past came out and hit cinemas. So that was at the same time, basically, you could go see any 3 of those films. If Marvel owned all of them, that would never happen. You would just get one film, because they're not going to compete with their own films. They're not going to take money away from both films. So I just think it hurt. I think it would hurt the franchise more. But to go back to your superhero thing, I think you would get fatigued so much faster, because you'd lose all that range if it was all under this one studio. I just think it would hurt.
Right. I don't think I can rebuttal that. The only thing I can think of is like, well, I mean, I think Days of Future Past was a good movie. We had a good premise. I didn't really like seeing Xavier being a depressing hippie.
I thought it worked for his character.
Yeah, I think it worked. I didn't like to see it, but I know it worked.
If you don't like to see a struggling Xavier, you're going to struggle through Logan.
Oh, I can understand Logan, because he's already what would you call it, a distraught character, or distraught.
Yeah.
So I understand it from the perspective of Logan, because he's already been tortured and he's lost his memory, especially in the canon of the X-Men movies. Then regained them, fell in love with somebody, she died, went into the past, he went a bit mental, then he was okay, then he got filled with metal.
I think he's talking about Wolverine, not Xavier. Okay.
No, I was talking about Wolverine then. I did establish how I could accept it for Wolverine.
Oh, well, I'm saying if you're struggling with an Xavier that is like struggling through stuff, you're going to struggle through Logan, because Xavier has a very tough time throughout that film.
The only reason I say it for Xavier is because I always see him as the mentor and wise character.
Well,
I always see him as the Gandalf of X-Men.
To see the older Xavier struggling, it's
sorry if I said older, I meant younger.
No, but I mean, like, just because obviously you know the mentor version of Xavier being Patrick Stewart. To see Patrick Stewart's Xavier really struggling through stuff, because he's got a lot of stuff going on in his head. I think it might be a tough watch for you if you struggle with the younger one. I think you'll struggle even more with the older. I don't mean you won't enjoy it, I just mean like as a challenge for you to sort of get through.
Do you mean the fact that Xavier's powers is practically killing everyone?
Yeah, everyone.
I already know about that storyline. Yeah. That was I believe that was a comic book storyline. Yeah. I forgot where I was.
Basically, just thought that you didn't like the hippie version of it.
Oh no, I like that character. I think he's an okay take on a younger version of Xavier. But I would have preferred to see. Or you're gonna have to clarify something for me. Are Charles and Magneto related?
No, they are not.
They're not, right? Because during the first X-Men movie, I thought like that scene where he was getting taken into Auschwitz, I think. I believed for some reason that Xavier he was taken through the gates, and he did his whole whatnot, and I had the idea that Xavier was on the other side of the gate, which would have actually been.
I think one of the big
cool
things that should give it away to you is the fact that Xavier is very British.
Yeah.
And Magneto is German.
Doesn't sound very German. Sounds very British. Born in Germany, raised to sound English. I don't know why, but that sounds like a good premise for a spy movie.
So as you're saying, so you said that you think Days of Future Past isn't alright.
It's okay. Yeah. The only justification I could have for essentially Marvel under Disney getting the rights back would be for to get some more of the comic booky stuff going on, because I know people don't like the whole or at least I think it was the director who didn't want to see Logan in spandex.
Yeah.
But they've teased it before, and it looked
from a different
good.
director.
From a different director.
But things can look good, and then when you put them on, it's a completely different story.
I don't know, because I've seen I don't remember the channel. It's a YouTube channel, but they do battles between Gandalf and Dumbledore.
Yeah, it's different when it's fan made. Yeah, that's what happens when we drag on.
Oh dear. We've lost one of the cameras.
Yeah, it's happened again, guys.
We'll just stick with this camera. Yeah. So I would like to see an attempt at making more of the comic booky stuff. I think even for Storm would be a good example, because her costume in X-Men is quite indicative of what the comic books have done with her. But I would actually I would like to see an attempt at the Storm costume from the cartoon.
Yeah.
And especially with was it Jean? Jean's the one with the touchy powers. No, Jean. No, that's not Jean. Jubilee. No.
No, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It'll take me. If I get it later on, I'll tell you. And I'm getting into the habit of trying to think of the name. But yeah, I would like Marvel, even if it's for a limited time. I do agree with the whole separate studio owning the property so that they can do different stuff and go in a different direction. But even if it's for a limited time, where it's we're going to buy the property for this amount of time with a contract or something. As soon as that contract runs out, you've got the property again. Just to see what Marvel can do with the property back.
Yeah.
I have a huge curiosity, especially with the Fantastic Four, which had a good movie to begin with, and then it started to trail off from there. Although Silver Surfer was done pretty genuinely. Just for the character himself, he was pretty somewhat close to the comic books and the TV show.
Maybe.
Yeah. Galactus was shit though.
Oh yes.
Galactus was
awful. We all
awful.
agree with that.
You did a bad thing, Fox. Bad Fox. I don't want to see a cloudy character who's actually supposed to be physical and a giant. But yeah, I would, even if it's for a limited time, I would like them to have the property just so that we can get a different perspective from the comic book originator as, even though it won't be written by people who write comic books, but they'll have a closer back and forth. and just Marvel in general having the property back. I think it could potentially be a fresh take on said movie verses, even if it is just for a short amount of time.
I don't think that even Fox though, I don't think they'll forever deny with the possibility of ever seeing the more accurate stuff. Towards the end of X-Men Apocalypse, you actually see the younger characters wearing very much accurate costumes.
Okay.
Like the sort of made a bit more cinematic looking, so it's more believable that they would wear it. But it's a lot more. It's not just like a black leather catsuit kind of thing.
I didn't mind the catsuits. I didn't like them all wearing the same suit.
Compared to what the comic books were, it's nothing alike. But at the end of X-Men Apocalypse, they were like not necessarily 100%, but like they even had Mystique wearing her comic style clothing.
Yeah.
So which is very different because she's always like naked in the films. So.
You've got to have the guys coming in for something, don't you?
Right. So, right you go, guys. I'm pretty much out of time with that, as evident by one of the cameras dying on it. So before it happens with every other one, I think we'll I won't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Right you go, guys. So. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed the door.
Dress the dyke button.
If that's if you're into that.
Yeah.
So just hit all those buttons, guys.
Yeah.
Subscribe, like, share, comment, like people's comments, dislike people's comments.
All the buttons.
All of the buttons, please.
Just, again, not the belly button.
Yes, Christopher, again, not the belly button.
I don't know why they keep doing that.
I don't know.
Maybe you've got some lint in there. I'll forgive you, okay?
Okay, guys.
Just... Bye.
Bye.